guest questions, feel free to go ahead and start lining up. This is for you guys. We do it for the fans. And please, no personal requests, no selfies, signing babies, anything of that nature. Go ahead, line up. And I think we'll just go ahead and bring them out. Please welcome everyone. You know him as Data from Star Trek The Next Generation, Brent Spiner.
Is in my throat. How are you? Good. So this is where? Cleveland.
Yeah. The weather's deceiving. It's a little bit warmer than normal, I think, right now.
I arrived. What? I arrived and there was a snowstorm happening. Does this happen all the time?
Oh yes. Like 4 seasons in a day.
I mean, seriously? Yeah. It's been fantastic. Well, welcome. I'm glad you're here. What's your name?
My name is Liz.
Liz?
Yes.
Liz and I have been friends for years. You know what? I have so little to say. Well, I could go on forever, but I know there are things you want to ask me, maybe. Liz, you had some things you wanted to ask me, or you wanted to say to me, or something.
Yeah. So before, I know we have so many fans. I'm just gonna, let me ask my question. I think we all would like to know, because we're at a fan convention, we're so excited. What do you love to geek out over? What is your fandom jam?
Sleep.
Sleep.
I love sleeping. I used to have a sign on my bedroom door when I was a young guy who had roommates in New York, and it said, "To be with oneself in peaceful slumber is perhaps the greatest gift of all." And I still believe that.
I agree.
Well, maybe not with yourself, but
naps are good too. Does that count?
I nap.
Okay.
I try to nap every day. I have napped every day of my life since I was in high school, and
like power naps or.
I think you don't want to nap for less than 2 hours, right? You know, Harry Truman used to say, you know who Harry Truman is? Yeah. Because I asked some people at my table the other day, do you know who James Cagney is? And they didn't know. I mean, more than one person said, do you know James Cagney? No. And if you're here, don't be embarrassed, because I'm not going to say your name. Maybe I will. No, I won't. But I was stunned. I thought, wow. But Harry Truman, once President of the United States, he took a nap every day, and he said that 20 minutes is no longer than 20 minutes is what you should take, and you should always take your trousers off. That's what he said. He became president. So. Yeah, although someone's going to become president that none of us had any idea. Maybe not.
Crossing fingers.
All
right, I know this guy here. You've been here all weekend wanting to see this, so we'll turn it to the fans.
Hey.
Hi.
How you doing? Are you Data?
I tried to. I couldn't get the makeup done as well as they did.
Well, you got the contacts.
I tried to put in contacts once and they didn't work out for me. So.
You know, I didn't much like mine either, to tell you the truth. That was the worst part.
Well, yours were yellow. And
mine were yellow.
Honestly, I don't know how the hell you can see through those.
Mine were yellow. They were soft contacts, you know, so that they weren't my prescription, but they were soft. But they hurt, and that was the first thing I had to do in the morning when I'd get there, is put the contacts on, and then they'd make Michael Westmore would put my makeup on for me, and about 2-3 minutes into the day, the makeup would get in my eyes and smear across the contacts, so I couldn't see anymore. And we were there generally 16 hours a day. And but the good part about it is it sort of informed the character, because I couldn't see. I was going like this all the time.
That's actually my main question, though, because I've been wanting to ask this all week, and well, to be honest, I wasn't quite sure I was going to make it because my father had passed away from cancer last Monday.
Oh my goodness.
But my family told me that,
Gotta go on.
that you gotta go on, you gotta enjoy yourself. That's why I came here. I came all weekend, and especially to be able to see you. And I was wondering I know I'd seen you on Night Court, Law and Order, Penn State, things like that. But Data was the character that really sold it for me. And I was wondering how you were able to portray from Encounter in Fort Point to the final Next Gen movie, Nemesis. How you were able to portray someone who didn't really show any emotion, but was able to portray that somehow to his fellow crew members up into his ultimate sacrifice at the end when he saved them.
You got a week? Actually, let me tell you, a lot of it is, the writers are who were responsible for that. I mean, they wrote a really great character for me to do. They wrote a great arc for the character that lasted for 7 years. Initially, I didn't know, or even beyond 7 years with the features, but I didn't know what we were going to do with the character. When I first took the part, I thought, is this going to be incredibly limiting? Am I going to be... and we had a director on the 3rd episode of the show who said to me, you are going to hate this character so much by a year, 2 years into it, because you're going to feel so restricted that you can't do anything. And instead, I wound up doing so much. It seemed to be the most limitless character, because he was exploring humanity and what it was to be human and to feel and to, experience. They created all kinds of wonderful things for me to do. And, what? Down, get down. So it really was, it was just a joy for me as an actor to do what the writers created. And also, I felt there was a kind of a symbiotic experience going on between me and the audience. Because Data said, I have no emotion. And he said it, but nobody really believed it. And I would get letters from people saying, I saw you were really feeling something at that moment. I really wasn't. But the audience felt it for me. And so it became this give and take between me and the audience that was also really wonderful. I hope that sort of...
No, it does. And again, thank you for everything. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Hey, thanks so much for being here. I'm so sorry for your loss, and you're a good guy. Thanks.
Hi, Brent.
Hey.
I have, this gentleman followed you throughout your entire career, probably a little bit more than most people have, and it's one of the ones...
Should I be afraid?
He's the one that wrote the letter.
One of the parts of your career that I want to ask about, and it does touch a little bit into Next Generation, and I want to ask you about your musical, all the musical things that you've done in your life, and what of musical productions, anything, recording productions, stages, shows, what you felt was the best, and then how did it feel to record Old Yellow Eyes is Back and the track with Patrick Stewart, Jonathan Frakes, Michael Dorn, and LeVar Burton?
The song spots,
Yeah.
they were called. Yeah. Well, I did this CD a few years ago called Old Yellow Eyes is Back. It was just, it just hit me that I could. I had Dennis McCarthy, who wrote the music for the show, did the arrangements, a lot of the arrangements. A friend of mine, John McKinney, who's a brilliant arranger, did some of them. And I had Wendy Noose, who was post-production supervisor, produced it. And there's this thing that happens between every word. There's a and that's you. It's okay. But do you have a box you could put in a silencer? Anyway, so I don't look any different right now than I did when you were last shooting it. Which one would you like? Let me get this over with. Here, let me do a few, okay? I asked the guys, Patrick and Jonathan and LeVar and Michael, if they would do background on one number for me. It's a sin to tell a lie. And they came in and recorded it, and just between us, it was terrible. It was unusable. It really was. They don't know, but we had to hire some other singers to come in and do it over their vocals because they were just terrible.
They know now.
They may not. They're not going to know about this. This is just between us. If you ever see them, please don't tell them. But anyway, so I did that, but I did another CD called Dreamland. Anybody heard that one?
Yeah.
Dreamland's way better than All Yellow Eyes. It really is. It's Dreamland. I did with again, my friend John McKinney did these arrangements that are fantastic. Dreamland's a story that goes from well, it's a story. We thought of it as a movie of the mind, sort of. It comes off kind of like a radio show because there's dialogue in it, and sound effects, but the effects are way more sophisticated than you would hear on a radio show. And it's a story, and we talk and we sing, and I sang with this woman named Maud Maggart, who is a brilliant singer, a real genius. She's Fiona Apple's sister, and she's just one of the great singers today. And then all the other male roles on it were played by Mark Hamill. And I don't know if you've heard of him. He has a little movie that just opened recently.
He just has a cameo though.
Yeah, you know what though? I do think he is the highest paid actor per second in the history of motion pictures. But I gotta think the second one we're gonna see a lot more of. Anyway, so I did that. My friend Dave Way, who's one of the great engineers, he's done everybody, he's won Grammys. He and I put it together, and so I'm really proud of that piece, actually.
Excellent.
Yeah, and then I've sung on Broadway a few times. Last time I sung on Broadway was 1776. I played John Adams. That was a great experience. I did 200 performances, and yeah, were you to see it?
Well, I'm just imagining doing 200 performances.
Did 8 shows a week. It was a 3-hour show, and I had 8 numbers in it. And when I wasn't singing, I was debating because it was about the First Continental Congress. And but there's a show now. Has anybody been to New York to see Hamilton?
Not yet.
Have you
Trying
seen
to get
Hamilton?
tickets.
You can't get. I know.
I
It's,
saw something rotten instead.
Saw that 60-minute piece on it. It was
What?
awesome.
oh, let me tell you. I saw it between Christmas and New Year's. I don't know how my manager got tickets for me and my family, and I think I had the worst seat in the house, which was I was really close in the orchestra, but I was all the way to the side, the very furthest part, and so I missed about a third of the stage. And still, it was the best show I've ever seen. It's unbelievable. If I go back to New York this year, I will do anything I can to try to see it again because it's groundbreaking. It's really one of those shows that changes the history of Thanks. This is the CD if you haven't. Trade it if you're not going to see the show.
I saw you. I met you for the first time about 2 years ago. Reunion.
Well, they won a Grammy for Best Cat. They're going to win all the Tonys. The performances are unbelievable. This guy, Lin-Manuel Miranda, who wrote it, is a genius. He plays Hamilton. And it's educational, too, because it really tells you the story of Alexander Hamilton.
There was any chance we could see Data again, would you be up to
Anyway,
that role?
so much for that. Anything else I can
You're working on a new show.
do? Yeah, and I know. They haven't told me yet, but I'm just assuming it'll be a data series, right?
Would you be up for playing the role again?
Sorry?
Would you be up for playing the role again?
I don't think so. I just don't know if I could do it convincingly. That's the only thing is, I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm a little bit older than I was. Just a little. I mean,
Age is just a number.
Sure.
Animated, they just need your voice.
Oh yeah, they could just animate it and use my voice.
And you'd be the highest paid actor for.
Exactly.
Maybe you can Mark Hamill cameo it.
I could just be there in the last 2 seconds of it, not say a word, and get a fortune for it.
I would also argue that in the very last episode of Next Gen, the 2-part,
we saw an older Data.
In which?
The two-part, what's it called?
All good things.
All good things. Yes, that's true. That was a figment of their imagination because that's not the way it turned out at all. But you know what? I really do think we all have sort of had our day with that. I mean, I'm only speaking for myself, really, because if any of the other actors wanted to reprise their roles, particularly the ones who play humans, and they certainly should. But I really think Data, it would be a disservice for me to play Data again. To the character, to the audience. I mean, Data was this childlike, you know, and even in the last couple of films, I was pushing it. And so I don't think I would do it again. But I am doing a series right now, just in case you have a television. Yeah, I'm doing a show on Cinemax called Outcast. It's based on a Robert Kirkman comic book. He did Walking Dead, and this is the next one of his. And it's a creepy, scary thing. And I play a creepy, scary character. Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty good. I know it's scary. I come into the show, I'm not in there are 10 episodes, because it's pay cable, so it's, you know, they do a shorter season, but I'm not in the first one. I come in the second one and I'm in the rest of them, but they build the character really slowly, and then it starts to really pay off towards the end of the season. And then also I'm in a little movie I like to call Independence Day Resurgence. And the whole resurgence thing is about my character. But that, oh, hi Sydney, how are you? That's Sydney right there. That's the name of my character on Outcast, I told you. That comes out June 24th. It's going to be amazing, I'm sure. Blockbuster, I hope so, yeah.
You and Dory.
Yeah.
Finding Dory.
Finding Dory. Oh.
Coming out June 2.
Same day?
No.
Good. My son's favorite movie growing up was Finding Nemo. We watched it 9,000 times. Anyway, there you have it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hey.
I actually wanted to know two things. First was, what was the most difficult part of playing Data? And
Yeah.
the second is, what is the funniest thing that's ever happened to you on any set that you've ever done?
Funniest thing that's ever happened to me. Well, the contacts really were the most difficult thing. I already kind of covered that, but I can tell you again. I used to go to the studio and put my contacts in first. But the funniest thing that ever happened to me, I'm trying to think if anything funny ever happened to me.
Pranks on set?
No, we didn't do pranks. We weren't that kind of crowd. Everybody laughed nonstop all the time. I mean, Patrick used to say he can never imagine doing another job where he laughs all day long, because that's what we did. Although I think maybe on Blunt Talk he laughs all day long. But yeah, I had some really, I mean, you know, if I laughed really hard, if something funny happened to me, it was generally not funny to me. I really, I can't think of anything. I mean, working with Walter Matthau made me laugh a lot. He was really funny. And I did this movie called Out to Sea with Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau. Probably my favorite thing I've ever been a part of, just because they were there. And also I had a really good part. And Donald O'Connor and Elaine Stritch and just all kinds of people. It was really fun. But Walter and I got on particularly well. And he and Jack Lemmon had this deal where they were older when they were making it, somewhere around my age. No, they were older, and so they had in their contracts that they had to be wrapped on the set by 8 o'clock at night. No matter when they started, by 8 o'clock they had to go home. And that can be costly, you know, because film companies are used to working until they decide that's it. You know, on Independence Day, this last one, we would do 17-hour days. We'd go in and come out and be, you know, it would be morning when we would come out of the sound stage. I remember Roland Emmerich, who directed, is a tremendous director. He did maybe 30 takes for every setup of the camera. And every time he would say, okay, reset the camera, and we'd go, oh my gosh, he's good. And I remember Jeff Goldblum going, oh my God. I guess you could shoot your whole life if you want. But Walter and Jack had this deal where they got to go home at 8 o'clock. And so he was sitting in a chair, and we were doing a big scene in a ballroom, because we played ballroom dancers. And he was sitting there, and Martha Coolidge directed. She's a wonderful director. And he was looking at her. It was about 5 minutes to 8 o'clock. And we were nowhere near finished with the day's work. And he said, you see Martha Coolidge over there? And I said, yeah. And he says, she's going to come over here in a minute and ask me if I'll stay late. And a couple of minutes later, Martha comes over and she says, Walter, I'm really in trouble here. I cannot finish this day. And could you stay late? And he says, let me tell you a story, Martha. He says, years ago I was doing a picture for Roman Polanski called Pirates. And he said, it was a horrible movie. And he said, we were out in Malta on a big pirate ship. And I said to Roman, you don't know what you're doing. And Roman got so insulted, he took his crew and everybody and they flew back to Paris. And the movie stopped. So the studio called me up and they said, Walter, will you please apologize? He said, Walter, will you finish directing the film for us? And he said, no, I won't do that. He says, look, get Roman on the phone, I'll apologize to him. So they called Roman Polanski, Walter got it, he says, Roman, I'm sorry, I apologize, will you and the crew come back and finish this movie? And so he says, yes, yeah, all right, Walter. So we came back, we finished the movie, it was a terrible movie. He says, now Martha, the reason I'm telling you this story now is because if the studio calls me and says to me, Walter, will you finish directing this film for us because Martha can't seem to do it? You know what I'm going to say to them? And she said, what? He said, I'm going to say, no, I want Brent Spiner to finish this movie. With that, he got up and walked out of the room and he was gone. Anyway, that was a fun moment for me. Great guy. Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Hi.
You're very blurry. That's cool. I don't have glasses on, so.
I'm blurry.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
Yeah.
Sorry?
I mean, it's interesting.
Oh, it is. Is everyone blurry or just me?
Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon did a movie here in Cleveland. It's called The Fortune Cookie. It's about the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, Fortune Cookie was, Walter won an Oscar for it.
I believe so, yeah.
He did, Best Supporting Actor. And I remember that movie because Jack plays most of the movie in a wheelchair.
Right.
Which they felt was restrictive for Jack, but Walter stole the movie.
Still a lot of other things.
Well, yes, indeed.
Thanks.
Okay, take care.
Great. Big fan of Mr. Data.
Thank you.
Can you tell us about some of your experiences working on set with Spot the Cat?
Well, Spot the Cat, I've said this before, Spot the Cat was the worst actor I ever worked with. You know, that guy couldn't do a thing they asked him to do. Spot the Cat was actually 3 cats. 2 in particular. Well, the first cat, I think, quickly went to cat heaven, and then there was Brandy and Monster, they were called, depending on what they needed them to do, which was interesting because neither could do anything. But I really did not like working with Spot. They were wonderful cats, really lovely cats, and I like cats. I'm very fond of cats, but bad actors. They would write you know, these impossible things for a cat to do. They were professional actors. They had wranglers, cat wranglers, who would bring them in. They were trained. They would do all kinds of things, but they couldn't do what was in the script. Except for one time when the writers wrote, Spot eats tuna out of a can. They got it on the first take. But my stomach used to turn over when Spot would work, really. Because when I open up a script and it would say Spot, and I go, oh, no. And because the days would be so long. I mean, really, we would do 100 takes trying to get Spot to do something. And but they were sweet. They really were. And indeed, I really do like cats. I mean, I'm actually doing a public service thing for state of New York. Legislation is being put forth to prohibit declawing of cats, and yeah, as well it should. And I mean, you know, how would you like to have your fingernails pulled out? It's really inconvenient, and particularly if you're a cat. And anyway, so I'm going to do some work with these people to try to make that happen. And as long as they have a rider in there that said, and they may not be actors. But yeah, no, they were you know. But I did get to do the great cat speech that I think Ron Moore and Brandon Braga wrote that speech, and it is genius. It really is. Felis catus is your taxonomic nomenclature, and something family, and I don't know. I used to know it, but like all the dialogue on Star Trek, I erased it the next day out of my brain. But that piece really is brilliant. I mean, I don't know, those guys were really good writers, and that was a wonderful piece to perform too. So it was worth having fun. In the end, yes. I myself have a dog in my own personal life, but what kind? A Weimaraner.
I have a Weimaraner.
Do you?
Yeah, is yours like a blue or the gray colored? Like, well, ours is a blue, they say. It's like a darker one.
Oh, no, mine's gray, with yellow eyes.
Oh, yeah.
And,
well, yellow-green.
Isn't
Probably
it?
not as yellow
I
as
never
yours.
thought about it having yellow eyes. They say your animals look like you. They didn't say your animals look like characters you played on television. Aren't they the sweetest?
They're just, I mean, they're so energetic, but they're the most loving dog. I mean,
They are. I mean, how old's yours?
7.5.
I think mine's about 8.
Do people say, oh, how old's your puppy? And you're like, no, it's psycho all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So much energy. They
Yeah.
need to be exercised all the time. But they are the most loving.
Yes.
They're wonderful, wonderful. I love my dog, and she loves me more than anyone in the world. She cries when I come home. Does yours?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like a moan. Like, where have
Yeah.
you been? It's like, I just got the mail.
Of course, she probably would cry if I came to your house too.
Oh, I don't know. I think she's not as protective as I would like. She'd probably lick you to death. Thank you.
Voila. Thank you. Hey.
Hey, I will try to keep the insipid fan blather to a minimum. But I do
We
just
better
have
stop
to
now then.
So when I was 8 or so, I grew up watching Star Trek: The Next Generation, and I love Data. He was my favorite character.
Thank you.
But going off of that, I know certain other Star Trek actors have had similar experiences, and I'm wondering if at any point in your acting career or personal life you ever didn't like the strong association with Star Trek, because you know if somebody loves your character so much, you're always going to be asked about it.
Right. You know what? It is sort of a double-edged sword in a lot of ways. I mean, when you train to be an actor, at least my training was to play a multitude of characters, if I could. You know, I was trained to do a lot of different things, and that's what I enjoy doing. Actually, Star Trek allowed me to do a lot more of that than most series do. I got to play a lot of different characters, and even play Data as different characters. And when I say it's a double-edged sword, one side of the sword is just a little sharp, and the other side is wonderful. because clearly the benefits have far outweighed any negatives. I'm fine with being associated. I'm proud to be associated with Star Trek. It's a huge, wonderful, epic adventure that, look at all the people who've been involved in it, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. I mean, this new iteration of films that are happening right now, I mean, look at the actors who are doing that, and I mean, you know, the guest stars we've had, and people like, you know, Frank Langella and Benedict Cumberbatch, and you name it. I mean, it's just one after another of great talent. So it's this huge tapestry that's what's the negative? It's great to be part of it. The only thing I don't like, and it's just my own, you know, personality, but I'm not crazy about it when somebody comes up to me and goes, "Data!" You know, because, and I try to explain to them, you know, that was a fictional character, and I am, in actuality, a real human being with a history and a background and feelings, exactly. So, and it only represents this much of my life, and the rest of my life, when they do that, it sort of basically negates all the rest of my life and says, this is the only part of you that's of any value whatsoever. If they come up to me and they say, "Oh, Brent Spiner, you played Data," and I'm like, "Yeah, you know, that's fine." I just don't like a fictional character's name being shouted at me. Any fictional character.
That's understandable.
Thank you. But no, I mean, you know, I don't think anybody really, you know, Leonard Nimoy wrote a book years ago called "I Am Not Spock" when he first started, and it was for that reason. Leonard was a really seriously trained actor who could do a lot of things. Later in his career, he wrote another book called "I Am Spock." I am thinking about writing a book called "I Am Not Spock Either." But no, it's way more good than negative, always.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, we have time for one more question.
Oh, I'm so disappointed. Well, you know what? I'll make fast answers, okay?
Because I sneaked this in.
Okay.
Okay, we'll do 2 more then.
Thanks for coming out. I was curious about the process, like the creative process of finding the character of Data, because obviously he's a very distinctive character. Was that something that the writers and the creators already had in mind, or was that you?
It was all me. Next. That would take a long time to describe, and I wish I could, but I'm not going to. But it was a combination. You know, we didn't know initially. Oh, I have so many good stories to tell you about that, but next time I'm in Cleveland, okay? All right.
We'll hold you to that.
Yes, please do. But it was a collaborative situation, and it grew as time went on. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Hi.
Hi.
I was wondering, did you have fun playing?
Next. Did I have fun playing what?
Did you have fun playing Devlin Bowman on Master of Disguise?
Yes. I had a really good time playing Devlin Bowman, and if you've never seen it, it's one of the worst movies ever made. And, yeah, you saw it in the theater. Oh, I envy you. I didn't. I don't think I've ever seen it actually, but I had a really good time doing it. I'm the villain. It's a Dana Carvey movie. Talk about making it up as you go along. Oh yeah. But I had a really good time doing it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Last one.
Good to see you again. So I was just wondering if, I know you're into music, if you have ever heard of the Voltaire and the Sexy Data Tango.
Never heard of it. I've heard of Voltaire.
Voltaire sings a song, and my boyfriend and I are...
Oh, no, I thought Voltaire as in Candide.
Oh, no.
No.
It's just another band called Voltaire. You should look it up. And it's called the Sexy Data Tango, and it just kind of refers to all of the...
It's about me?
The booty that Data gets in the... As a joint, we thought it was kind of funny.
Do you guys know about this?
It's hilarious, and it really is a good to your character, so you should look it up.
I will, thank you.
To know it.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it. Sorry. Thank you all so much. be there for like